Hello everyone and welcome to our weekly live video. As you probably all know by now, I'm Sophie, this is Luke. Today we're going to do IELTS tips and tricks. So it will give you a general overview of the exam itself, but also the exam day, because we prepare students for the exam. They're all ready and then they say, what do I wear? What can I take into the exam? So we'll go through some of those things today. We'll just wait a little bit for some people to join. Okay,
so how everyone is doing?
Yeah, comment how you're doing, how lockdown is.
We hope everything is okay, everyone is safe, and everyone is enjoying their lockdown.
Yeah.
We hope you're doing something interesting or
productive or not.
Yeah. So just hope that everyone is safe, okay, from this virus.
Yeah. So, and we hope that our videos are just kind of helping people go along with some of the stuff that they're doing. If you're preparing for IELTS or you're just interested in studying English in general, we hope that it's kind of helping people and just giving you a little insight into Fiji British Academy.
And don't forget our competition is...
our monthly competition. We'll announce it at the end of this month. Yeah. So you can still win 2 hours free tuition. And the way to enter that today will be to tell us something that you know about Fiji. So for all the Fijians, that's really easy. But for everybody else, try and tell us something or Google something and tell us. And we'll look for the most interesting one. Okay? So what we'll do is I'll probably ask, Luke will ask me as though he's the candidate.
Okay.
So we'll go through the general test day initially, and then we'll move on to the test itself. Okay?
Okay. So what are some of the tips that can give us on the exam day?
Okay, so just in general, practice your English before the test, okay? There's never enough exposure to English or too much. You just listen to the radio if you can, watch English TV shows or even movies.
Reading?
Yeah, do reading, listen to music, watch our videos, anything, It's getting that exposure to the language. The more that you're immersed in the language, which is, why we offer the IELTS immersion courses and English immersion courses, is being surrounded by a language, you take in a lot more than if you're just studying on your own and then speaking in your native language. It kind of pushes you along. So if you're studying for IELTS or you're just studying English in general, by having different exposure to English in different ways and getting used to different accents and that kind of thing, that can really help develop your English to be a next level that you wouldn't be able to achieve on your own. Another thing would be to just be really confident and ready for the test. Some are really nervous, and it doesn't matter, you don't have to worry too much about it. There's always opportunity to retake it if you needed to. It's just go, do your best, and by being confident, especially in the speaking, that will up your score anyway, because they will see that you're confident, they'll see that you handle your language well and everything, so that will help you. Trying to think of anything else that I might add.
Listen to the question.
Yeah, really, that's really important.
Always try to listen to the question and try and answer it directly. Is that right?
Yeah, because what happens is sometimes, and it's understandable, you're a little bit nervous, and then the examiner, perhaps in speaking, asks you a question and then you don't quite hear it right, or you don't give yourself chance to just ask again. And you can always ask that. You can say, I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself? Or if you're doing the listening, you have a time to time to read through the question and everything. And then once you've read through the questions, you can establish what you're looking for. Okay, so let's just move on to your on-the-day IELTS exam tips. Okay. So what questions would you like to ask me about that?
In terms of on the exam day, okay, so like what should you do to prepare yourself? Like, because I had to test this quite a long time. Takes a long time.
Yeah. So the test in itself, in Fiji, you have your speaking test up to a week prior to the reading, writing, and listening. So, you know, you have that, and then you've got the long test, which is 2 hours and 40 minutes. Okay. Now, what I always say to students, and I feel a little bit like a mum saying this to them, is sleep well, eat well. But by doing that, you're ready for it in the ways that you can control. Okay, so you can control that. You can have a good meal. You can sleep well, and that's controllable. That's within what the realms of what you can do.
But for some people, like when they eat a lot, they probably like some of them just want to sleep.
Yeah, like me. So if being very British here,
don't sleep.
If I was going to do IELTS and then I had a full roast dinner beforehand, I'd probably fall asleep. So know yourself and eat well in terms of what's best for you. For some people that would need to be a full meal because they've got 2 hours and 40 minutes within the exam. For other people it might be that they just need a small snack, you know, things like that. So yeah, you know, you can take a drink with you. So if you just need a small snack, have a small snack. If you want a large meal, have a large meal.
So what about like arriving in the exam center or?
Okay, so normally the exam centres inform people quite well of how far prior to be there, but I would adhere to that because they'll check your ID, they'll take your belongings and everything and hold on to those when you're in the test. So there needs to be that time to kind of organise things individually for each person. It's a service that we offer in Fiji to take people to their exam, to make sure that initial part of the exam runs smoothly. So make sure that they know where the test centre is and get there on time, to look after their valuables, to be there waiting for them when they come out, to help them with filling in any paperwork that might be for delivery of test results or anything like that. So arrive early, have your ID with you, and you know, in Fiji it's normally a passport. So just kind of be aware of what they're asking for and make sure you have the right thing, because you don't want to end up that you've done everything you can ready and then they say, no, actually, I'm sorry, you missed something and you can't take the test.
That's not good. No.
Yeah. And then once you've arrived early and you've done all that, then I would say probably just quickly nip to the toilet, because although you're able to go in the duration of the test, it's wasting time. You might need that time, okay? So it's a good chance to just go one last time and then go into the exam.
So it's always good to try and arrive early. And
yeah, then you've got the time to do those things.
And make sure you always know where's your exam is like being held. Okay?
Yeah.
So you don't like waste time going around and looking for the exam center. And
especially for smaller exam centres, so they might have the facilities to do their speaking on site. But then for the main exam, it might be in a different location, but the same city. And in situations like that, you need to really know prior to the exam where you're going, because you might finish your speaking exam around 11:30 and be starting your afternoon exam at 1 or 1:30. And although that seems like a short amount of time, you need to arrive early for the afternoon. You need to have lunch. There's lots of things that go into that. You know, it can be a bit difficult. So for anybody who's in Fiji, if you're going to Suva or Lautoka for your exam and you don't know where anything is, you can just message us. It doesn't matter if you're one of our students or not. We help out with things like that. And then obviously we do the exam service where we can take people, make sure that you get to your speaking exam in the morning if it's in the morning, and then take you for lunch or bring you lunch to where your next exam centre is, and then we'll be there waiting for you when you finish to just help you with that last bit.
In terms of clothing, do we have to
My female students always ask me this. I've never had a boy ask me this.
So we can just wear anything.
You can wear anything, okay? Especially in hot countries, I always say take an extra layer, because they probably have the air conditioning on, and after 2 hours and 40 minutes you probably feel a bit chilly, and you don't want your focus to be on I'm too hot or I'm too cold. You want your focus to be on the exam.
Always good to be prepared.
Yeah, so take that extra layer with you, make sure you're prepared. It kind of goes with clothing, but it's an accessory really, but you can't wear your watch during the exam, so maybe just take that off and leave that at home. Or if you're leaving your valuables, put it with your valuables. There'll be a clock on the wall, so you don't need to worry about telling the time on your own watch, okay? You won't be able to wear it.
Okay, so on the exam day, okay, so if I'm about to go for the exam now, okay, so what are the things that I'm allowed to take in and the things I'm not allowed to take in? Okay?
Okay, so you're allowed to take in a drink as long as it's in a transparent bottle, okay? They need to see what's in there and there needs to be no label on it. You're allowed to take 2 pencils and an eraser. In some cases, you're allowed to take a pen, but you're only allowed to use your pencil for the answers. I'm not sure. I would just say take your 2 pencils and your eraser, and that should be sufficient for you. Some students are like, but what if both of those pencils break? Well, then take 3. You know, sometimes people just worry, but they normally just let you take 2 in and your eraser, and that should be fine, okay? But for some people, practice writing in pencil, because in everyday life, we spend a lot of time on our phones or on the computer and then write in pen, and it's not that it's that different, but it's just getting used to reading your own writing and making sure there's the clarity in your writing, especially when you're writing in pencil.
So apart from
that, you don't need to take anything else in, just your extra layer, or it's good to layer up, so if you're too hot you can take things off, and if you're too cold you can put things on.
And don't we take our headphones or in terms of listening?
Yeah, they'll provide headphones for you, okay? So you don't need your headphones.
Always make sure that before your listening exam starts, always make sure that your headphones are working. Okay.
Yeah, so the headphones that they provide, always check that they're working, okay? Because sometimes it might be the volume's too quiet for you, or they don't work at all. So just make sure that you tell the invigilator so they can rectify that rather quickly.
So you just give us some of the tips of the four sections of the IELTS exam.
Okay, so I'll start with speaking because it stands alone. I would say just be ready to have a chat, to have a conversation as we kind of are now, as you would with your friends. Try to be a little bit more relaxed, because if you're very worried, sometimes that can hinder your language, okay? Don't worry so much about your vocabulary. A lot of people say to me, I only know so many words. Okay, you only know so many words, just try to use them with the best fluency that you can. As long as you're using the right words at the right time, it doesn't matter if it's lower level or higher level English. That's not really what they're looking at. It's 25% of your mark, but it's not everything, okay? There's other things that are more important. I would say use a range of grammar tenses and do that. And then when you use those grammar tenses, then they'll be thinking, okay, this person can use English in different ways, and it wouldn't matter so much on your vocabulary. It would be more that you can use the right grammar structures. Practice speaking as well. So I know that's not always as easy as easier said than done with that one. But try and access that. I mean, we offer a speaking time, which would be with either an IELTS tutor, an IELTS examiner, or a native speaker. We always try and fulfill one, if not two of those. And that time, you know, you could just do 1 or 2 hours, and that time would be valuable because it gets you used to some accent, it gets you used to interacting with people. It just gives you an idea, a feel for it. You can ask them questions, and then you have an idea of how that speaking might go. Or you can watch our previous video, which was IELTS speaking. That might give you an idea as well, because you need to have a good idea of the structure, okay? And then, no matter where you are in the world, probably just a big bula Fijian smile.
Bula.
So yeah, just stay happy and relaxed, that's fine.
Okay. So, reading?
Yeah, so for reading, I would say don't waste too much time on just one answer. So if you're really stuck, and even I'm a native speaker, and sometimes I look at a question and I go, okay, I can't find this answer very quickly, move on. Okay, you can always go back to it if you've got time, but if you waste 10 minutes of your reading stuck on one question, it will knock your confidence and it will waste time, and you might not fulfill some of the answers further along that would probably be more valuable. So just move on. I know that's hard. I find that really difficult. I'm not very good at that. I'm like, no, I want to get all of them done in order, okay? But it doesn't always work. So just try and move on. Read the rest of them. If you have time, you can go back to it. If you miss one, it's 1 mark, okay? And then you're still able to get a high score. You don't have to worry so much, okay?
Always try and write your answers on the
so
while reading.
Write on the answer sheet. You won't have time to transfer afterwards, so make sure you do that in your reading, okay? Now, another thing is, reading is about finding your answers, not necessarily understanding the reading, okay? So it's really important that you practice, because if you didn't practice and you just go straight into the IELTS reading, you'd read all of this overly complicated reading section, probably be sat there like this, and then struggle with the answers, okay? But if you start to understand the way that you answer IELTS and get used to the different reading structures and the pattern of the questions, then you know that you don't need to understand absolutely everything. You just need to know how to learn to do the questions, and that's more important. If you can do both, great, okay? But not everybody can. And a way to try and make sure that you get a certain score is you don't need to keep improving so varied language. You need to practice doing that type of question and be able to answer that. If you are wanting to improve your language, to have that understanding, that's okay. And for that, I would say do more reading and then probably do some more speaking and listening to build your vocabulary. Did you just kick the desk?
I think so. I think so, I did.
Fijians are really clumsy, okay? They like kick things and hit things and break things by mistake all the time. That's why they're good at rugby, because big hands and feet.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, listening. So,
listening.
Some tips on listening and writing.
So, it always says in the listening, we'll give you 30 seconds to read the questions before we start the section. And so many of my students are like, relax, don't have to do anything right now. Okay, don't do that. You need to take that time and then read through everything, because you need to have an understanding of the questions, and then when they start speaking you can be like, oh, okay, it's asking for this, I've just heard it, it's asking for this, I've just heard it. Okay, it takes a bit of practice, same as the reading. It's not, I always say IELTS is not about your level, it's about learning how to answer the questions. It is a bit of both, but if you never practice the listening and you're a native speaker, you might still not get a good score, because you don't know how to read the way the questions are asking you for things, okay? So if you can practice, and it'll just help you understand the way it's going to ask for things. And then you still need to read the questions in the exam. You still need to make sure that you know what they're looking for first. and then you can go through, but it will make it a bit easier for you. And then afterwards, they give you 30 seconds to check your answers. Now, if you want to have your breather in that time and you don't want to check, then you can take that time to kind of relax. It's a bit hard on listening because you can check your answers, but some of them you've already done it and you can't quite remember what they've said. So don't dwell on it, just kind of wait for the next section and maybe use that time to start reading ahead a bit more if you want to, or you feel like you've got it to do so. With some of the answers in listening, some of my students ask me, they say, okay, so I heard this word, but I don't know how to spell it. Well, try, because it's better to try and then get it really, really close than not fill in an answer, which some students do. They feel too ashamed to try and then they just leave it blank. Well, at least if you try, you don't know, you might get it right and you might get the mark. So just try. And then in terms of your spelling, I would say that for clarification for the examiner, maybe write in capitals or make sure that your writing's really, really clear. Don't do like joined up handwriting or anything like that. Just make sure that it's clear. It doesn't necessarily have to be capitals, just need that clarity in your writing because they'll be looking for the answer and it makes it a lot easier. I don't even know now whether it's completely computer read for the listening, whether it scans it. Okay, so just make sure that it's really clear.
Okay. There are some other tips you want to share with us, or?
Yeah, for writing.
Oh, for writing.
So writing is 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. What happens with some of my students is I will give them the freedom when they do like a lead up practice test, give them the freedom to do task 1 and task 2 within that hour's time slot, however they wish. But I would always say, don't spend more than 20 minutes on task 1, because otherwise you're cutting yourself short on writing task 2, and that could cause problems for you. So you probably say the same to your students. Leave the allocated time that they've given you to as it is. It's like that for a reason. And if you run out of time, move on to the next one. And if you have time, you can go back. But you'll never make up the time if you take another 10 minutes from the writing task 2. Okay, it's really important. So stick to that time frame that they've given you. Okay, and then with...
Another thing is always try and write over the word count.
Yeah, the word count. So word count for writing task 1, for anybody that doesn't know, is 150, and for writing task 2 is 250. So don't just try to write right up to that and then try and write a little bit over. Okay. Not massively. Like you can write 175 and that's fine.
That's gonna make you gain more points.
And then
more score.
On the task 2, you should write about 300, somewhere between 275 and 300. That's probably okay. You know, we're not saying to you have to write a 1,000-word essay in 40 minutes. We're just saying to you, just try and go over the word count.
Because you don't know some of the words that you write, the spelling is not right, and all those small mistakes can, it can
lower the score.
Yeah, lower your score down. Okay, so always try and write over the word count. Okay.
Because as well, if the examiner looks at it and it's under the word count, and then they go, "Oh, there's loads of spelling mistakes and everything," they'll mark you down. But if it's over and you've made good points and you've got quite good grammar and good vocabulary use, and then you've just kind of fallen short on some of the higher level vocabulary on your spelling or something, then they probably won't mark you as harshly. But then at the same time, say if you did writing task 2 and it's 250 words and you wrote like 400, 500, you're leaving yourself open to make more mistakes. So it's good. I always say to my students, 275 to 300 is probably about right. And then just another thing for writing task 2, if you're going through the essay and you get to your like 3rd paragraph, for example, and then they say, okay, 5 minutes until finishing, don't just finish your paragraph and then stop. Try to always conclude. So even if you just had a minute left and you say, in conclusion, this, okay, that's fine. At least you've concluded it, okay? So always try to do that. That's like a really good tip that a lot of people don't know. They think, okay, I'll just stop. No, try to conclude. Even if one of your paragraphs is halfway finished, but you've got a conclusion in there, that will mark better than if it's just finished halfway through. Okay? For any more tips, you're welcome to message us, but you can also check out the British Council test tips, their website, IDP test tips, or IELTS.org, their test tips. We have some of our own that we give to our students. So, you can ask us if you want to. Anything else you want to say?
I think that's it.
Okay.
So those are just some of the.
It's just an overview,
Some of the tips and tricks that we would like to share with you guys in this afternoon's live video. So if you have more questions or anything you want to know about IELTS or tips and tricks, as Sophie have mentioned earlier, you can always look at the website.
Yep.
Okay, British Council test tips or IDP test tips or IELTS.org. Okay, and feel free to ask us if you need any help or anything to do with IELTS. Okay, listening, reading, speaking, or writing. Okay, just do message the page. Okay, message our page, and we'll be there to help you out.
Yeah, one of the team can help you out.
Or one of the team will be there to help you out.
And what's really good is because one of the reasons we've given you the websites is sometimes things change. So you could watch this video, but it's good to just double check before you do your exam. Check if there's any more rules and regulations that they've put in there. And anything like
latest,
that. Yeah, the
some
latest.
of the latest rules and tips and all those kind of things. So
and something that we recommend at the moment for practice is not available in Fiji. You'll have to check on the website whether it's available. But there's IELTS indicator, which will give you an indication of your level. Okay, so then you're doing a realistic exam. You're doing something that it's written by IELTS, okay, by Cambridge, so they've done it almost the same. And some institutions, I think universities, not colleges or schools, I'm not sure on that one, are accepting that score. So if you're unable to take your exam because of COVID-19 prior to when you're supposed to be entering, then you can use that indicator to help you. And for anybody that can do it, if you look at that and you go, oh no, I'm really not getting the score that I need, then we're here to help, okay? We're used to that, so we're here.
We're here for you. So anything, just give us a message, okay? Just send us a message or anything.
Yeah.
So that's it for today's live video.
Yeah, don't forget to enter the competition.
Don't forget.
Few entries in, but there's still chances for people, so enter the competition.
Try to always give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, give us a like. Okay, and we're also on YouTube if anybody wants to find the video later and Facebook's not working for you.
You can always go on YouTube. We're on YouTube too. And anything else?
Don't forget to visit our website.
Okay, don't forget to visit our website, which is
www.fijibritishacademy.com.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye bye.
Have a blessed night. Modi.